Simon King, and this is What's Wrong. Hey, guys. It's the second or third episode now from Deadly Heights Studios, and we call it that because there is a real risk of a fatal fall. Because Mike, he works hard, he can't afford an outside wall. So basically what's happened is it looks as though a giant hummingbird or a giant woodpecker has pecked its way into this building, and Mike just sits here and just covers himself with newspaper when it rains. Pretty sad, but I'm not paying him more. But we are very glad as our second guest to have our second return guest ever, and one of your favorite guests based on the comment. And if you're not listening, if you're watching this on YouTube instead of listening to this, then you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fabulously amazing Dylan Reimer. Dylan Reimer. He was our first guest.
I forgot we have an at-home audience.
Yeah, and the thing is when you were first filmed, we shot this on a piece of wood that I found on the way, and it wasn't a very good camera because it was just a piece of wood. So it was like, so this one we actually got a real camera.
No, Mike, I remember Mikey was he was heating up a sharp piece of iron.
Yeah,
and basically drawing me and you having a conversation.
Flintstone style podcast.
Yeah,
it's we're very
and burning
retro.
himself all the time.
Yeah, well, that's just for fun to feel something.
And there's explosive alcohol everywhere in the studio.
That's also for fun.
Otherwise known as gasoline.
Gasoline and explosive alcohol.
By the way, the windows.
The windows?
Oh, hold on.
Bong, bong,
did I just fuck something up?
No, we're good. We're good. That's what I'm
he just mentioned Windows and Bill Gates pressed the button somewhere.
There's an Eric Clapton joke here.
Mm-hmm.
Why on earth would you have a window that opens out?
I bet Eric Clapton...
Where a toddler could just wander over
I bet Eric Clapton
and plummet to their death.
I bet Eric Clapton would have been happy if it had been a brown guy who caught the kid or something.
Ooh.
You know, he's a crazy racist, right?
Yeah, I know
Eric Clapton's crazy racist, right?
But a very talented musician.
Yeah, that's cool, but I mean, it's still racist, right? It doesn't matter.
They're all racist.
It doesn't matter what key you sing the N-word in. It's still the N-word.
Yes,
right?
The key of N.
The key of N. That's
That's
tough
an N
key.
major.
It's a difficult N major. N minor if you don't use the hard R.
Sounds like Ben Minor. Hello, Ben Minor.
Hey, Ben Minor. How are you?
Okay, I'm trying to keep up with the rapid brain of Simon King.
The rapid brain of Simon King. It's just hot. Oh, yes. And we didn't mention this. The last podcast, the production values have since increased drastically because Mikey found an old dress in the elevator. Some lady was moving and some Mrs. Roper type woman.
It was from the Arts Club theater production of The Handmaid's Tale, the musical.
And the thing is until he tried to sew it himself, it was white, but this is all his finger blood.
For some reason, he added these fucking giant metal
things.
You know, I have no idea what that's for.
You know, you don't often see a red tarp unless it's in a serial killer's house. And also somebody wearing
the exact same color shirt.
I know. I like.
You're just gonna be a floating head. But you're always kind of just a floating head, aren't you, Simon?
I mean, like a chameleon.
Yes,
right?
Like that.
Like a stand-up chameleon. Hey. Was that joke too blue? I'll change. Anyway, sorry.
There you go.
Just fucking brutal. And,
thank you for having me back on your podcast. That's what I meant to say before I talked about Eric Clapton's child falling to his death.
That's what we all think.
Their death.
I think about it all the time.
These days they would have reported.
Their death.
Their death.
And who else is with us in this room, in this tiny room, in this tiny hot room, in this Vietnamese sun torture box that is the new studio? Ladies and gentlemen, it's the what's a good? Oh, there's this.
Are we waiting for the siren?
No, they're just coming to just pick up.
That's some real urban flavor.
Yeah, hey guys.
That ain't no bullshit.
I don't know. I think we did last time, but I think I punched a seagull. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the what's a good adjective for Mikey?
Lugubrious.
We did that one.
Really?
Yeah, we already did.
Oh wait, was it when I was on last time?
No, we didn't know. Last time you were on, we weren't doing adjectives.
Anthropomorphic.
Mikey Greenwood, ladies and gentlemen. He's almost. We treat him as though he's a real person.
he thinks he's people.
He thinks he's people.
He's actually one of his own dogs.
He is one of his own dogs.
He has many. It's a kennel in here.
You know, the funny thing is, last time I was here, there's only 4 dogs, and now there's 38. So I don't know what's going on.
I don't know
what's going on, but they all look like real angry, like they fight a lot.
It's almost
got
like
a real Michael Vick thing going on.
Oh, I was thinking just mammals reproducing was the simplest answer.
Yeah,
but the last time you were here was like 3 days ago?
Yeah, something like a week ago. We are actually a little bit late with this podcast because I've been out and about and I've returned.
Huh? From where?
I've been out in the bush.
Oh,
I've been out in the bush earning my beard.
And you smell like it.
If you have a beard like this and a plaid shirt, once a year you have to go out in the bush.
Yeah.
You have to arm wrestle a bear
with a big blue ox.
And you can't beat it. You can't beat the bear. They get mad. All right. You just lose to the bear. Oh, bear. And the bear's like, mom, mom. Like, all right. And then you buy a bunch of honey.
Yeah.
And then,
are you mixing up bears with ducks based on that sound?
I could arm wrestle a duck.
Yeah.
Can you arm wrestle a duck?
Wing
Yeah, just
would you go with the leg or the wing on that one?
Over the wing?
I never deal with birds. Because are the wings an extension of like their little arms?
Yeah, they're the flying arms.
But they do everything with their feet.
Yeah, because they've got wings.
Right, but
like
the wings aren't arms. It's more like the wings are legs, and so they're actually all fucked up because they're opposite of us.
Yeah, but birds aren't supposed to be like us. You imagine a weird bird just eating a banana with its feet.
They'd be Kentucky frying us if that was the case.
Kentucky Fried Human would be disgusting.
Don't knock it till you try it.
Well, here you go. Yep. So Kentucky Fried Human is what they called the death penalty, and in Kentucky at the time.
You know, someone made that fucking joke.
Hey, they must have.
Yeah,
they have to have made that joke. But I just did it here,
like the judge.
And so the judge has to I sentence you, Herb, to a It had to be a Herb, right?
That's pretty. Yeah, it would Herb.
No one's called Herb anymore.
No, yeah.
Who's calling their kids Herb? Call your kid Herb.
What's it? Yeah.
What's a name that's really out of style now? That like not Karen because that's just like Karen. I can't say that without doing a Ray Liotta.
Karen shit.
I can't do that.
I have a very good.
That's all we had.
A very good friend named Karen. I've known a few good Karens, and they're the greatest people ever.
That's a Clint Eastwood movie.
But why I hate, again, this is why I hate the internet is because stupid memes lead to like everyone thinking Karens are like whiny.
That's why you hate the internet? There's not other reasons.
Well, it starts there. That's like the fulcrum that gets me through the big heavy door of
I bet you none of those women were actually named Karen. I bet you none of them were. Yeah. I bet you none of them were.
I believe Dane Cook had a bit about. Is that where it came from? Didn't he have a bit where it's like everyone knows a Karen and she's always a C word?
He did. Yeah.
There you go.
Is that where it came from?
So that's where it came from.
So we have him to blame for that too.
Yeah, that's right.
Ironically. I'm not getting into that.
I don't know. Names that are out of date?
Names that are out. Well, I'm just thinking, like, if you named your kid something now. Like, if you had a kid tomorrow.
Do you think anyone's naming their kid... Oh, wait, no. Sorry. Do you think anyone who doesn't follow politics...
Donald?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way around this because there are problems because of the Trump phenomenon. The name Donald has probably gone up in red states and gone down in blue states.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how nice your great uncle Donald was. Yeah. It's like, sorry, man, you fucking ruined it.
What if you spelled it with a Y?
In fact, Donald Duck.
Donald.
Well, actually, it sounds Russian, so it'd be appropriate.
Trump.
Yes, it did.
Donald Trump is a very good name. Donald has got to be one that's going to be. I mean, Donald's also like an old name anyway. Who calls their kid Donald?
Yeah.
I mean, you would have thought the duck would have fucked that for everybody. And back to ducks again. What have we got against ducks this podcast?
The only Disney character I ever liked was Donald Duck.
Really? I like the Beast. Because that guy just shows how capitalism works. He's like, yeah, he's ugly as shit, but he's got all that money, so the chick shows up. Right? He knows how it works.
Are you talking about Satan?
And Walt.
What?
What? He designed Mickey Mouse, right? So he's responsible for four-fingered mice.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and Nazi geneticists.
This podcast is brought to you by...
That's where he got the idea.
This podcast is brought to you by Four-Fingered Mice, the great malt liquor, Four-Fingered Mice. It just seems like a malt liquor, Four-Fingered Mice.
Sure, indeed. Speaking of which...
Oh, speaking of which, malt liquor. Oh,
you see, now, you think podcasts don't pay, but now I've been doing comedy for 25 years now.
25 years.
And they have honored me with my very own can of Miller High Life for appearing on the Simon King is Wrong podcast.
That right there's a champagne of beer.
Just going to put that right there.
I never had champagne.
That's the closest,
champagne.
that's the closest to an Emmy I'm ever going to get.
Maybe that's why it's called the champagne of beers. Maybe it was a slam. That's what the fruity French would drink.
Here's the thing.
Champagne of beers.
Is champagne even that good?
It's only Miller if it comes from the Miller region.
I get that.
There you go.
It's like
it's always good when someone says that. Imagine if that was your laugh. You're in a comedy club. I get that
joke. Sardines and champagne have that in common, where if you're eating tinned fish that's not from the sardine region, then you're just eating tinned fish.
So instead of sardines, sardidn't.
No, that was
Hey, guys.
that was sordine.
It's
That's
hot
what
in
that
here
was.
and my brain hurts.
Yes. And
It's really hot.
you've been in the wilderness for
been in
like
the
Jesus.
wilderness.
You've been out there
I've
like
been in the
Jesus,
desert.
wandering.
Imagine what if that was just what if that misinterpretation.
Imagine if you were Jesus.
Jesus was like, I'm really full. I'm just gonna go for a walk for a few days. And
'Cause he
everyone's
has
like,
gas.
oh, okay. And there was like, what happened to Jesus? He looks like that guy on that cross or something. Like they all look the same back then.
No, and he's up there. He's like, I got gas. Poke me in the gut.
Yeah.
And the Roman soldier just to let the gas out.
Holy Spirit!
Hey, there's a Jesus joke.
Yeah.
In 25 years of making fun of Christianity,
You've never come up with a Jesus
never
farting
thought
joke.
of deflating gassy Jesus.
Deflating gassy Jesus.
That's right.
Deflating gassy Jesus. So what's your favorite? Okay, all right. Let's do some stand-up comedy talk.
Okay.
About
Let's
comedy.
get serious.
Let's do three.
Mister.
Let's do 3 jokes about stand-up comedy, and then that's it because that's what's funny.
Jokes about stand-up or just talking about
no.
stand-up?
I want to know. So you've done comedy for longer than me. You've
Quarter
been
of a century
for
now.
Quarter of a
yeah.
century. 25 years.
Well, okay. Here's
Your comedy career is too old to date Dane Cook, and I knew I was gonna do it. I just didn't do it earlier.
That is a good joke.
Once in a while, I'll get one out.
No, so I started in 1993.
Okay.
At Queen Elizabeth Senior Secondary out in Surrey.
Opening for Pearl Jam.
I started hosting. I don't know. I really enjoyed drama, and I didn't like anything else, and so I did. Whatever. Long story short, I started hosting the coffee shop, like the talent shows or whatever in my high school, and then I just went out to.
Did they have stand up back then? Was anyone else doing stand up like at the high school?
No,
because it seems like to me stand up is like only become mainstream, particularly with younger people, in the last sort of like 10 years.
I would say 10 years. No, in fact,
before that it was just like creepy old dudes sitting in the corner talking about how the 80s was making them money.
I used to hang out with.
I used to hang out on the.
Okay, this is how, when I started. It was they actually still had smoke pits in. Did you guys have smoke pits in your high schools?
Well, in that we cremated a lot of people who died. And we didn't have. I mean, we were a poor school, right?
That's right.
A lot of people would die from malnutrition and the parasites. Oh God,
yeah,
the parasites.
So D, E, F grades.
Yeah, F meaning fire.
Report to the furnace room.
Yeah, report to the furnace room. Yeah, there was a lot of immolation, self and otherwise.
I started in '93, and comedy was not very popular, and I don't really know why I got into it. But for some reason, I had this. Oh, I know. It's because I wanted to be an actor or a director or whatever, and that was too much work. And I was like, I'm invincible and young. Yep. I'll just do stand-up comedy because this way I don't have to like rehearse. I don't have to like listen to directors and stuff. I can just be me. And I killed at my high school talent show.
Wow. So you wanted to?
And I was like, next stop.
Can you remember a joke?
It was a place called the Poco Loco on Seymour and Davie.
Before we get to that, can you remember any of the jokes from your high school set that killed?
I could do you the whole set.
What?
What's up with Mr. Rudco?
What is up with Mr. Rudco?
He calls that a mustache? No, I don't know.
I was gonna say that sounded like a euphemism. I was like, what is up with? What's up? Is that like Fido Dido? What's up with Mr. Rudco?
No, well, Mr. Rudco. Okay, if you're watching Mr. Rudco.
Hey, Mr. Rudco.
I did it! I did it, Mr.
It's
Rudco!
Dylan, the ginger kid that was irritating.
No, Mr. Rudco was one of the few teachers who actually gave a shit about me, and it was delightful.
Rudco's a good name too. It sounds like a company that sells things on The Simpsons.
He was really into moose for some reason. He always like in his he taught journalism, and
Rudco and his moose.
And he used to buy he used to go across the street to the Dairy Queen and buy us dilly bars. And not just because I'm dilly, but like he just went and bought dilly bars. He was the like, you couldn't call him by his first name, like the douchebag, like you can call me Greg.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was just a legit cool guy who taught journalism. Anyway,
and had sexual relations
that's
with
why
moose.
he stays in my head.
Would you guys be waiting in the classroom while he just left and go get dilly bars?
Yeah, it's like, well, the thing is, we could see him like because the Dairy Queen was across the street.
Easier than teaching.
It's like, Mr. Rudco's got a big box.
Hey, I'm gonna get you guys some dilly bars if you can guess my favorite animal. He's like wearing moose suspenders. Is it a rabbit? No dilly bar for you. But Dylan would always guess moose because Dylan was the one person in the class who had sight.
Your question was, do I remember any of the jokes from my first set?
Yeah, any of them.
I do. Do you really want to hear it?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. I just heard a seagull.
So I was at the zoo today, and this is actually based in truth because I was at the zoo that day. To be legit, every time I did a set, I have to go to the zoo, and then go to the gig, just so I wouldn't come across as disingenuous.
Like you got to change your set. You can't do your list.
I was at the zoo, and they have a rhino there. It's the rhino enclosure, because I wanted to sound like a boring version of Norm.
Boring Norm.
And there's a sign outside the rhino enclosure that says, "Please do not tease or taunt the white rhino."
Mm-hmm.
How do you tease a rhino exactly? You call yourself a rhino? I've seen bigger horns on clowns, buddy. You couldn't charge a credit card. And then the rhino's like, this is so horrible. The rhino's like, are you talking to me?
Oh, no.
I don't see any other rhinos around here, so you must be talking to me. Oh, it's fucking horrible. I was the biggest hack on the planet. I was Hackosaurus Rex.
Yeah, but it was 1993. There was no such thing as a hack back then because everything had not been invented yet. Like stand-up was 15 years old. What? Really? I mean, in the modern
mostly
sense.
performed in strip clubs, which I was too young to get into at the time.
Yeah, so you weren't there. You were just out there performing for rhinos.
That's right.
This is my way in.
I don't mean like Republicans in name only. I mean like actual rhinoceri.
Dylan would not perform for black rhinos.
Oh. Well, they're so judgy. I've seen Showtime at the Black Rhino Apollo.
The Black Rhino Apollo.
A white rhino goes out. He just doesn't stand a fucking chance.
How do you upset a white rhino? You just be like, I don't know. You'd be like,
shoot him and cut his horn off.
No,
grind it up and use it as an aphrodisiac.
Yeah. Hey, I met your horn. That's gonna make my dick hard there. Right? Like, stop talking to me like that.
And then I had a joke. Oh, I used to have a joke about this commercial that was on TV in 1993, which was a bunch of kids playing basketball at the school, and this guy in like a fucking sports car pulls up, and he's like, it was like an anti-drug ad. And he's like,
I remember that commercial.
Hey kids, I got what you need.
He's in like a red car.
And they're like, get lost, buddy. And it's like, don't do drugs. And so my joke was, in my school, we'd be chasing that car like the ice cream, ice cream man. And after a while, he puts speakers on top, and he's playing like, sorry, I spat on you. Purple Haze and shit, right? Like, this whole thing about the drug dealer being like the ice cream man in Surrey. I don't know. I mean, what was it? Did you remember your first like 5 minutes? Like, maybe not the very first time you got on stage, but just like,
I remember some of it.
You know when you get lulled into a false sense of security, like you think you have a good 5 minutes, but it's actually like just fucking garbage. Like what was like the highlight of that 5 minutes?
Oh, it was very impression and character heavy at that time. I didn't have a lot of jokes that.
I wouldn't have seen you. Oh yeah,
you would have seen.
So maybe Laugh Gallery you would have come by. Okay.
Because I did it for Yuck Yucks, the comedy club at Yuck Yucks for a little bit, and it was like club comedy was the worst way to start. But there was no indie comedy really. It was just like you guys.
There's nowhere else. Yeah, there wasn't the.
And
to the listener at home, by the way. Yeah, there wasn't like it is now.
And he means the listener.
and it's me. It's just me listening to myself talk.
Weirdly enough, you
by the way, Dylan, I know you're sitting there in that chair in the park.
You know what I've realized?
At 1 a.m. You really are the greatest, dude. You're the fucking greatest.
Peter Calamus.
You nod your head, buddy, because you know it's true.
Richard Eden, who's been on the podcast, told us that he listened to it.
Yep.
Dylan Reimer is here now, listens to it.
Every episode.
Peter Calamus listens to it. So all we have to do is have 10,000 people on the podcast, and we might get somewhere.
Yeah, or like 2,000 bots, and that'll appear
2,000 bots, right?
At once.
It's like that and Susie and the Banshee are headlining Lollapalooza. 2,000 bots. 10,000 maybe. Anyway, for the first joke, if one of the first jokes I did was I used to do like what did I do? I did Kermit the Frog, who was like super angry. Don't make me cut you, fucker. Like really fucking angry.
That's
like
funny though.
The Cracky Monster. I did this in like 2000.
Cracky Monster's great.
Me like crack.
You know what?
Me want crack.
Did
no fuck around. Me want crack.
I bet you did that I used to love. I think he did it back in the Laugh Gallery was Schwarzenegger. They're trying to save money, so Schwarzenegger does his own sound effects.
Yeah, that was like when he did Terminator 3 or whatever.
Yeah,
he did like his. He got $30 million for Terminator 3. For that money, they should have had him doing the sound effects on the movie.
This is the scene where I take out my guns. Patrol, patrol. Then I'm running across the floor. Clankety, clankety, clankety. Then there's a squeaky door. Squeaky door.
Love it. I don't know why. I understand why you moved away from impressions. But
not really. I mean, I still do them more. I just needed to learn how to do it without it. I needed to prove to myself that I was a good comedian without that, and then now I throw that. Like I just did a show in Kelowna. I did like an hour, didn't do any impressions, and at the end I just did a bunch of micro impressions.
Yeah.
And it was super fun, and I got to try out my new. If the bare naked ladies were your landlord and you were late with rent, it's been. So
that's so dumb.
It's so dumb. They're all dumb. It's been.
That Hugh Grant is a NASCAR driver. It's always.
I'm going the wrong way.
Right.
Right.
I steal it. I steal that joke all the time.
It's just so stupid.
But never on stage, so it's okay.
I know it was like always weird, like those micro impression things too. I really enjoy those. Like I love goofing around and being silly.
Now hold on. So is micro impression? That's a term you came up with because it sounds like microaggression.
I used to do
Yeah.
I used to do them. I did them for a long time, and I noticed some other comics are starting to do like short impressions and stuff. But I've been doing these for a long time because I just thought I hated when people would do just the catchphrase.
Right.
Like I hate that because it's just like, well, that's you just basically saying the catchphrase. People are remembering the catchphrase. You're just cheating, kind of like you're softballing it.
Yeah.
But if you do something different, especially something that because it has to be the joke first. If the joke's not first, then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, it was always the joke. I would always write the joke, and then with Schwarzenegger, I had to learn the impression because I wrote the joke. I was like, well, I got to learn the impression now.
See,
So-
and that is how I feel. Now, for some reason, I get described as a political comedian. I think people just use
Probably because you're a political comedian.
But I'm not.
Well, you're a social comedian. You're like
I
you're socio-political.
I talk about shit that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
But when I think political comedian, I think like Rick Mercer, where it's like, this MLA voted to
I think people
downvote
say
the Bud Light.
political
It's boring
comedian.
as fuck.
Yeah, I think they
But
say
I
that
talk about
because
social issues
Yeah.
sometimes if I find them funny. So I'm with you on that because it always frustrates me. I remember Guy McPherson. Now I love Guy. We get along great.
Yeah.
But
Lovely guy.
very rarely do I ever get an interview in the straight or whatever. And he like he called me an issues-based comedian or whatever. And
that's
it's
fair.
like, well, no, but I don't sit down and like read the paper and write jokes based on that.
No, but so
like,
this is
funny is always the first thing, and then you work around that.
My
right?
philosophy about comedy, I think, really encapsulates this because I believe that most comedians fall into two categories. I mean, in fact, all comedians fall into two categories, with very few that actually balance both. Internal and external comedians. Internal comedians talk about themselves in relation to the world. I was at the mall. I did this. This is a story about me, my relationship, my blah. External comedians talk about the world in relation to themselves. The world is fucked, and that makes me sad. The world is broken, and that makes... So you are more an external comedian a lot of the time than an internal comedian, but you have a nice balance of the two. I am an external comedian who's trying to learn to do more internal stuff to balance the two. George Carlin and Richard Pryor are the two prime examples of this. George Carlin is an external comedian. Most of what he talked about was the outside world. He did talk about himself, but mostly Richard Pryor. He talked about race in relation to himself. He talked about himself in relation, like it's all he talked about himself.
No, I think that's a really good analysis because I was actually just I rewatch Jammin' in New York City probably 2 or 3 times a year.
Good. That's a George Carlin. For people who don't know,
It's like Purple Rain.
Jammin' in New York is probably the best, or maybe the second best George Carlin special.
The best.
It's so good. It's 1992.
I just watched that Carlin.
I haven't seen that. I can see that.
Fucking and like Judd Apatow, it's an hour longer than it has to be.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, like everything he fucking does. I'm surprised every episode of Freaks and Geeks isn't 2 hours long, and it's all improvised. But
Judd,
anyway,
I'm really, really sorry, Judd. I didn't know he was going to come on here and slam me. We're still good though, right? Like we're still doing that thing. Anyway.
Yeah, man. By the way, Judd, I'm the only person who liked funny people. I liked it a lot.
I liked funny people. I thought it was good.
No, it was great.
I thought Sandler was well contained.
I thought okay, I don't want to get into that because we're digressing like crazy.
Yeah, we're digressing.
But my issue with Carlin, it's weird with Carlin because the guy's done like 30 some odd specials.
Something like that, yeah.
And I only like 3 of them. But I like them so much that I think it's like, oh,
yeah.
It's almost like he was climbing a mountain and then he was taking photos at the top of that mountain and then he was going down.
Yeah.
I don't like old man grumpy pants who's like where he's leaning into the negative a bit too much.
Yeah.
And I really don't like it's a place for your stuff and I'm goofy McNutballs.
I don't think even like Toledo window box stuff. He didn't like that stuff. And
or like
Laszlo and stuff.
Or Class Operation Fool or whatever, or Occupation Fool.
Which is weird because he had done
at the
AMF.
time, how do you make a fucking 1 hour special that he must have at the time liked the material? I mean, that's how much opportunity is in the States that you can actually crank out like an album a year.
Yeah.
And then years later, like or a couple of decades later, look back and go, "Ugh, what a waste of time that was."
There's nothing worse than to me is like I mean I'm terrible at I've thrown away so many hours I just never recorded because I feel it's not right.
I know, and
It's not good.
I picked them all up, and I kept them in the freezer.
I always feel like
and after you're dead,
yeah, I have them now.
why is Dylan talking so fast?
But I always feel like, and then for me too, an hour is 3 hours, so it's like a lot of work. But I always feel like I'm so bad at pulling the trigger on things and being like, let's do it. Like the hour that I have right now, since I recorded As Good As, I've only really been working it since kind of COVID calmed down and stuff. And so I've been able to go on the road. I have an hour. I'm over the finish line with it now, and I've done it a few times.
This is like an all new hour.
All new, yeah.
Post As Good As.
There's 2 or 3 jokes that I actually used on an album no one's ever heard. So I actually kept those and changed those and made them better. But other than that, it's all new, and I'm trying to talk about myself more. So I'm trying to actually figure out that internal thing.
Yes.
But right now, as it is, I could probably record this hour and it would be fine. But that's not good enough. It has to be
extra fine.
The day that I was shooting As Good As, on the second show, I was adding tags that I was thinking of, and I was like, "That's the way it should be."
That's the worst.
Yeah.
The worst. I recorded an album.
Yeah, what's it called? Tell people.
Which I plugged on this podcast. By the way, I was the first ever guest.
First ever guest on the podcast.
I am the George Carlin of the What's Wrong with Simon King podcast.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention there's a fucking sign. There's a sign. What do you think, we're fucking around?
Production value.
It was
and if you're not watching,
it was still being mixed and everything. It is out there now. The album's called Macro Dose.
Macro Dose.
I'm very proud of it. Please listen to it.
It's very funny.
It's
if
cheap.
it's anything like the material I saw you doing when you were going to record it,
yes,
then it's good.
Yeah, but you haven't listened to the album. That's what you said. Although,
listen to your album.
Last night I was walking home drunk, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to listen to one of Simon's albums.
Oh no, which one?
It was one for the. I'd actually never listened. I'd actually never listened to One for the Money,
clean,
and I was like, because I have I have a corporate coming up next week.
Oh, use
and
it.
I was like, can I take any of this?
Yeah, no, take it. Take it.
There's no way that Victoria Save On Foods community is going to know Simon King well enough.
Take the jokes.
Anyway, so but
I wrote that I'd never performed that before I actually did it, except for the first joke.
You know
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm incredibly jealous of that. Anyway, oh God, I'm way off track now.
It doesn't matter. That's what this podcast is.
What amazed me is that so I have this weird hang up because
so do we.
I'm in a category.
Sorry, and anyone who does not, you should be watching a
gotta watch it.
I just pointed to the cool
It's
Mrs. Roper
technically
dress.
Tax. By the
feel
way, well done, Mike. The tacks are all the same color.
Yeah.
I don't know, so you must have bought like the red M&Ms for rock stars.
Yeah.
Like only the red tacks. Otherwise, it'll look cheap.
Yeah, you wouldn't want yellow tacks up there out of the shot as it is. Anyway, I like how Dylan's. I haven't had the heart to tell Dylan it's not a shot.
So my good friend Paul Bro, who you also
love Paul Bro.
Paul Bro, a fantastic fella. Pretty good comedian. He hasn't been comedy in 20 years.
Has it been that long? It's like
it's
15.
been forever. I keep trying to get Paul to come back. You know, sometimes you got like an old buddy. You're just like, come on. And then they come back and do 5 minutes. You're like, oh, this is a terrible idea.
They've worked through their trauma and don't need to. And they're
they
like,
have like
no,
jobs.
I don't need to fucking do that. And you're like, no, you should come back. And they're like, why? Why would I do that? I have a family. Why would I go there?
But Paul,
go to an open mic at 12 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that's a fucking good idea.
I used to always say to Paul when he was a man doing stand up before he sold out.
I'm
talking to you, Paul, bro. Anyway,
he's not listening to this.
No, he's not. He has an actual fucking job.
He has a wife,
family, and stuff.
This is for losers
and a kid. But I remember saying, I remember going like, I don't get it, Paul. I don't get why people are offended by what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's just my opinion. And he would always go, it's because it's your opinion, you fucking idiot. Like, if it was just because to me, what's offensive is talking about abortion flippantly as a dumb joke.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's meaningful.
Let me stop you before you finish that.
Oh, nice.
Sorry.
You sound like you sound like Clarence Thomas.
Hey.
No. It took me like a good long time to realize. Oh wait, like audiences are genuinely incensed if you mean what you say.
Yeah.
But to me, it's offensive if you don't mean what you say.
That's how I feel about it too, and that's
Yeah.
why I feel like comedians that are disingenuous. I mean, not that I don't enjoy like absurdism and stuff, but I do think there's something about, like, I really like absurdism. Actually, that's I am an absurdist in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
but to
look at
me,
your hair.
yeah, absolutely. Look,
You cut it yourself.
I made this face. This is paper mache.
Oh, your dad and mom made that.
But the thing is, but I also think that when it comes to stand-up, the thing that connects me more to a comic than anything else is when I believe that they believe it.
Yes.
Or when they feel it. And whether that's Brian Regan talking about Brian Regan stuff that's very clearly how his life is. It doesn't have to be fuck the system, tear it down. It just has to be, I'm authentic, I'm slightly turned up for stage because that's what we do, but by and large, what you see is what you get.
Yes. I can't remember the book, but my friend's dad, this is before I ever did comedy, actually, I was like 16. My friend's dad was really into pop culture from the 60s and 70s, and I'm pretty sure, anyways, in this book it said, it was I think it might have been Richard, no, I don't know who it was, but they said something, which I will say, whoever's editing this, don't worry, I will eventually say the thing.
I don't edit it. You've seen it? I don't edit it. That's too much work. I might put in the random sound effect if I get around to it.
I know who it was, actually, and it was in the book the book on Canadian comedy that all Canadian comics must read, Stand and Deliver, by Andrew I can't remember his name.
Man.
But if you're a young comic or whatever, read this book, because it's the complete history of Canadian comedy.
I think it came out back to like World War I or something. It was like it's the 95.
Andrew, I can't remember his last name.
It's probably McIntosh or something.
He interviewed Mike McDonald, and Mike McDonald said, more or less, you can't lie to an audience any more than you can lie to a baby. Right? Like, have you ever tried to convince a baby that you're happy when you're really depressed? The baby sees right through that shit, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same with audiences.
Sorry. Can't help it.
It took me so fucking long to figure out, if I'm feeling grumpy, just be grumpy on stage.
Yep.
I don't have to pretend to slap on this stupid fucking smile and you know what I mean? Like,
That's
and that takes time.
That's an important lesson.
Well, first of all, you have to get it. I think it takes hundreds of.
It took me 10 years.
Yeah, I'd say about 10 years of walking on stage. You have to get to the point where the walking on stage part isn't giving you diarrhea, and I still get diarrhea.
Well, you have to be familiar.
But there comes a point where you just have done so many shows that you look at the crowd and just go, fuck, whatever. You know what I mean?
You know what I think it is?
And you trust in your writing. And there are comedians who are very improvisational. I'm not one of them.
I'm kind of that way. I write everything on stage.
You're so fucking sharp, Simon. It's ridiculous. But I know. Wait, want to suck your dick right here?
Well, we'd have to change the angle on the shot, and I don't want to get up. I don't want to get up. Mikey doesn't know how to operate the camera. He's terrified. He's over there in the corner being all anthropomorphic.
Do you remember, when I was a kid, you had Transformers cards, right?
Yes.
And it was all the Transformers,
all the different kinds of electrical boxes.
And there'd be like the I love how you know what I love. There were a few Transformers who were like libertarians and shit. But, like this is an Alex Jones bot.
You can't control me. He's an American flag with a line through it. Like, what the fuck is going on?
He transforms into a porta potty.
Snake flag. Don't tread on me.
No, there were a couple of Transformers who were like conscientious objectors. And I'm like, all right, you're like a hippie bot. But strangely, didn't transform into a VW bug, which would have been the logical.
Just a bong. Optimus Prime just getting fucked. How come Optimus Prime's transforming so slowly?
And the Bong bot is like, why don't you ever let me transform back from the Bong? We still need you. And he's just sucking down the energon.
Autobots. roll one up.
Transform and roll up.
Transform and roll up. More than meets the eye.
Generation X listeners, you are welcome.
Starscream's just angry because he's on coke. All
Meth.
Matt, yeah.
Fucking.
All the Decepticons are fucked on coke and meth, and the Autobots are just wicked high. Like they're cool.
There was an episode. Okay, so I can't really. Sorry. Okay, good. My left ear is buggered because I got it buggered last night.
Hey.
No, so it's sometimes it sounds like my mic doesn't work to me.
Okay.
But there was an episode of
My mic doesn't work at all. It sits in the corner. Sorry.
This is the first in 27 episodes. This is the first time you've made that joke.
It is. Yeah.
Anyway,
That's the first time someone said
but
my
there
mic
was an
doesn't work.
episode of Transformers where, like, you know, they're just obsessed with Energon on that fucking show.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They're always fighting over Energon, and the Decepticons
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, these puny humans, just step on them for the sake of making Energon."
Yeah.
And then Optimus is like, "Do not step on those puny humans while making Energon." I mean, that's basically.
I forgot about
Actually, if
Energon.
you think about it, it's more or less class division. Broken down because at no point did the Transformers ever try and change the system enough
Yeah.
to empower the humans
No.
to themselves not be stepped on.
Yeah,
Right.
You know.
but the Autobots pretend to be socialists because don't they join together to make one big robot?
Well,
no, that's
okay.
Voltron.
See,
Voltron are socialists.
you're just displaying your ignorance.
The GoBots. The GoBots are socialists.
Okay, now
All right.
we're not
let's-
even speaking the same fucking robot language.
Oh, those GoBots.
Need a beer?
No, I'm good, thanks. I've still got another Miller High Life.
What?
The champagne of beer.
Anyway, there was an
Hey,
episode.
maybe that noise on your lawn is something you should check out. Get your gun and get out there.
There was an episode
Miller High Life.
of Transformers where the fucking Decepticons got a hold of an oil rig, and
Yeah.
and they made so much energon that they're just like, oh,
Fucked.
we don't have to fucking.
They're fucked.
It's not prohibition anymore, boys. And they were just like and it was like tainted energon.
I think I remember this.
But they were like, all the Decepticons were like guzzling energon
Yeah,
cubes
yeah,
and then getting
yeah.
shit faced and like and going like, yeah, screw you, Starscream, fuck you, Skywarp, and they're like like pushing each other and fighting, and it was amazing. As a kid, I'm like, oh, I guess they're just like, that's just bad energon. But now I'm like, oh, the guy who wrote that was hungover.
Yeah. So you know what? Hey, can we before we this because I'm gonna put
Oh, yeah,
this
we
out
should talk
there.
about comedy, more comedy, less
I'm gonna put
Transformers.
this out there to anybody who's listening to this who has the ability or the watching this has the ability to do this. I would really like to, if you could send me some edited together Transformers footage that I could overdub serious HBO style,
that's
Netflix style
hilarious.
drama, but over the Transformers cartoon.
Yeah, we should just do that ourselves.
You know what I mean? Like
That's
we should
great.
do that. Just
Yeah,
like so,
yeah.
it'd be like, but not even their voices. Just like, so. It turns out that I can't get the money I need to save the farm. Like really serious, like heavy duty. Yeah, how many abortions? Just flying away.
I once did I got a hold of
hilarious.
it.
More than meets the eye and ear. So
I have a propensity for forgotten about trinkets at garage sales. You know.
put them up your butt. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Do you too?
You too?
Am I allo-
Bono
okay.
does.
Oh yeah.
Is that what propensity means? To put up your butt?
No. That's suppository.
the things you can't leave behind.
Propensity is like almost like predilection, like a predilection. It's like someone who
Enjoys.
something they like to do. Yeah, something they like. Yeah, like not a picadillo.
Predilection, isn't
Predilection,
it? What did I
sorry.
say? Predilection? Whatever.
No, I just have a lot of beer in my head.
Anyway, I found a Transformers audio cassette. Back when we were kids in the 80s, we didn't really have VCRs and stuff.
No.
So you'd have to buy like a tape.
Yeah.
And I edited a pornographic version of this Transformers tape
fuck,
where
that's awesome.
where it was Optimus Prime having sex with Megatron.
There you go.
I mean, and I called it Transformicators.
That'll stop him.
And it was
Transformicators, there you go.
and,
How did you edit it together?
with two cassette tapes. How old are you?
No, I kind of just seems like it's a very artistic thing to do. Like I don't.
Yeah,
Well, when you
I'm
had
a very
nothing to
artistic
do.
person. this
When
is,
you were trying to write your new gorilla or fucking rhino jokes, and you hit a block, you thought, "I'll just go edit some Transformers porno," and then he tried to do that, and they banned him from the.
See, here's what
calendar.
amazes me is I cut this together. I cut it together. I did this when I was living in Scotland in like 1997
Oh, okay.
because I had nothing
Scottish
else to do all day.
Transformers, different
And then I would go out and do like a show.
Yeah.
Like I used to just sit there and edit Transformers tapes into pornographic
Yeah.
Optimus Prime fucking Megatron
And then go do shows.
from Transformers the movies. and then I would go do a set.
Yeah.
And these days, I can barely
Kids these
work up
days,
the
they don't
energy
even-
to go do a set. I'm like, I have
Kids
to go
these
tell-
days, they have an app that edits the porn, and they just
Oh,
go
yeah.
to put all their porn sets online.
They got a robot that edits those tapes
They got
for
a-
them.
a Transformer. Yeah, funny thing is, Transformers will one day be doing our jobs. Editing
yes.
together. I made a video of humans fucking, and now I'm
Yeah,
gonna go do
we are
jokes about
transforming
Energon.
into a non-existent
How many,
species.
how many people here like Energon? Woo! Yeah, all right. I got parties.
Yeah, give me a clap.
What do you transform into? A little dick, sir? Transformers dealing with hecklers. Just a stag comes in.
Soundwave superior comedian inferior.
All right, your next guest is gonna
And
roll out.
then you're in the parking lot, and all of a sudden they all fucking they form into Bruticus.
Bouticus?
Okay, well
The Roman?
When I was a kid, right? Again, grew up poor in Surrey.
Yeah.
It was very, very difficult, but I somehow managed to get all of the what were they called? The Combaticons. And they were all like military vehicles.
Yeah, I would think with that
and
name.
if you had
Ice cream vans.
if you had the 5, you could put them together into this one giant robot called
Yeah.
Bruticus. The original was Devastator, which was the Constructicons. It was a more innocent time.
Yeah.
because they were like plow. They were construction workers. They were
Constructicons are what we call people who work for prison wages in the States.
That's right.
And they're $3 a day, and they will build, because the American prison system is for profit, and these are the Constructicons.
Yeah,
they will build roads
The
for you.
Constructicons.
A mile and a half a road a day.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they don't transform into.
don't transform.
Well, they could transform into one giant
didn't know they were
orange-suited man who can pick up trash on the side of the highway.
He's just trying to rehabilitate. That's his entire mission. It's just to rehabilitate. He's like, I just want to get a real job. I just want to get back out there. I want to see my kids.
See, I love the idea of like a fucking Decepticon. No, but the thing is, the way the world is, Decepticons would be running the show. It'd be like some Ben Shapiro fucking bot.
Not
who's
political comedian Dylan Reimer. Figured out a way to make fucking Transformers
you don't have to be political to know who Ben fucking Shapiro is. He's a little fucking weasel.
Hey, Ben, you fucking tiny man.
Oh, he is. He's like a little squirrel. He's so angry. Ben
But think
Shapiro.
about that, guys.
He's a little fascist squirrel.
He's very intelligent. He's an incredibly intelligent
well,
person.
he speaks very quickly.
But no. Well, Jesus Christ, I feel seen. No, he's very intelligent, but it's like, just because someone doesn't politically agree with me, I don't think they're stupid. They tend to. The plebs are stupid, but the ones running the show aren't stupid.
Oh, yes.
You know, they're like, Dick Cheney's a fuking genius. He knows what he's doing. He never went to jail. He killed 1 million people. He go to jail.
Dude. That's a
Can you
fun.
imagine if you killed 1 million people with your car? But then if there was oil at the end of it,
Well,
they'd be like,
with the price of gas.
it's like 3 years later. They're like, well, I mean, did he even have a car? You know, it's like, was there a car there? Vehicle of mass
What if
destruction?
cars have killed 1 million people? That may have happened.
Cars have killed 1 million people? The movie? Owen Wilson?
Lightning McQueen is.
That's a really creepy Cars 6, where he just he just sends out Mater to pick up cars that are broken down. You come with me to see my friend. And then he slowly takes him into a dim garage. And they're just like, hey, I'm Lightning McQueen. Just like Lightning McQueen just cuts up living cars with a torch, and Mater's just laughing. There's just a really creepy, real Dexter style Lightning McQueen. I like it.
We need to talk about Mater.
We do.
I'm telling you. Or it's like,
I don't care who you are. That's evil right there.
have you ever seen Cars?
I have seen Cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a child.
Oh, well, I didn't think kids
seen-
were
I've
into fucking
you
Pixar.
seen
movies.
Cars?
Seen
Well, of
Cars.
course, I've seen Cars. I'm
See-
emotionally stunted.
There's stuff.
And
you
also,
see.
I went to see it because I was pretty sure I wasn't going to like it.
Yeah.
And,
That's the way to go. That's what you want to
and I
spend $13 on.
Why sneak in?
Am I gonna hate this?
Yeah.
I better go.
Okay.
Would you do that with restaurants too? I hate seafood. Let's do this.
Are you kidding? McDonald's?
$48.
I know I hate McDonald's,
Yeah.
and yet I go there.
And you go to
You know, I
McDonald's. But McDonald's is like that.
successfully boycotted McDonald's for 20 fucking years.
Really?
No, for
20
real.
When was the first time you went?
First time? Okay, so I was in London in like 97.
Yeah.
and I just got off work. I was working at HMV.
Yeah.
In Leicester Square, and nothing was open. So I go to the McDonald's, and I remember the burger the whole combo cost like £8, which at the time was about $16 Canadian.
That's a lot.
And it was so gross.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so poorly made, even
England
by McDonald's standards.
bad.
And I was like, "Fuck you, McDonald's! You're never getting another goddamn cent out of me!"
I love the idea that there's some guy taking the trash out of a McDonald's right down there, just like outside. Yeah. He's like, "What?" Like, he just wants to go home.
You mean the McDonald's we can see from the window?
McDonald's we can see. And he's just like, "What?"
But I stuck to
a
it.
Voice from above, like God's just mad at him.
I stuck to it.
Oh, so you didn't go from 97 till
my 40th birthday.
Jesus Christ!
I was I was on the island with Kevin Fox.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Robin Williams went back to doing coke, hanging out with Kevin.
Are you serious?
So I
don't think that was exactly
I'm right
the
back
reason,
to the
but
filet
yeah.
o fish.
Oh, I gotta get a filet of fish,
Kevin
man.
Fox has
Oh boy. I'm going for a Big Mac.
No. So I went out and I got totally shit faced. It was my 40th birthday.
Yeah, you gotta get fucked.
And I got and I'm doing like I'm in God, what's that little backwater town that Schritter is from?
Ladysmith.
Okay, never mind. It's not the same
Parksville.
place. Yeah, Parksville. So we're in Parksville.
I was gonna think.
And I'm all drunk, and I'm like, "Hey, my 40th birthday!" And then I like
that was before he learned how to speak.
Back to the hotel, and there's a McDonald's. I'm like, "Fuck it, it's my birthday!" And so I walk through the drive-thru, and I'm like, "I haven't eaten McDonald's in 20 years, but it's my 40th birthday. I want to make chicken and a filet o fish and fucking like I ordered everything
that way.
I ordered everything, and then I walked up to. And I'm walking through the drive-thru, and then I get to and I realize I've left my wallet back at the hotel. So I'm like, "Wait, just a minute," and then I stagger back to the fucking motel, which is probably like 10 blocks. Get my wallet, stagger back to the fucking
for
McDonald's.
Your cold McDonald's.
Hey, then I bring it back to, and so anyway, and I bought a pack of cigarettes. I hadn't fucking bought smokes in like 5 years.
Oh my God.
And I remember just waking up in a motel in Parksville on the day after my 40th birthday, like wearing my suit, shoes still on, bunch of half-eaten fucking burgers in the bed. Like cigarette, the door wide open. Anybody could have walked in. It was the most.
Yeah, but I bet they didn't. I bet they walked by and they were like, "Let's just not." Like they were like, "We should steal." Oh,
there's 3 McNuggets left. Let's go in
and they just come in and they go, "Okay, so you go to McDonald's and you only get a filet of fish and a McChicken. You haven't been there in 20 years. You don't get any of the beef."
No, I got the beef. Where's the beef? Is that what you're saying?
You know what we're gonna do now, because we've had a McDonald's story. Finally got it out of you.
Okay.
And
anyway, but that was my see, and now my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Just fucking loves McDonald's.
She loves McDonald's?
Oh, she's very fond of it.
I'm a Wendy's guy.
I mean, not like an everyday kind of thing, but like once in a while, it's like you just want that little tiny cheeseburger.
If I have to have fast food, I'll have Wendy's. If I'm in Canada, if I'm in the States, I'll have In-N-Out.
Oh man, I've heard they're very good burgers.
They're very well. I've never had their burgers. I only go there for the ambience. I walk in. I bring my own food. I bring my own lunch. I bring a cheese sandwich, and I just stare into the distance.
Yeah.
Imagine they just walk into In-N-Out. I'm good.
Sit by the waterfall.
Just sit by the waterfall. You know what it's time for? Let's get random. Let's get random. Bing.
Oh,
I like the way he went bing bing.
I thought we were gonna rob a Mexican bank on horseback. But yeah, I'll get random. Sure.
It was either that or it was undulating. I can't tell which one I'm doing. Sometimes I undulate, right? I like the idea that I can just pull his mic away whenever I choose. If he's getting boring, I'd be like, "That's cool. McDonald's, great, good for you."
I do dig it though.
Yeah, I like it. It's pretty good.
On stage, this would be very useful.
Before we get random, I want to ask you a question. Do you guys know anyone who quit comedy and did way better after quitting comedy?
Yes, Cliff Nesteroff.
Yeah, he did way better after quitting.
Oh,
comedy.
What happened?
I know a lot of people.
That's the easiest question I ever heard.
Did better after quitting comedy.
Seth Rogen would also fall into that category.
But he still does comedy.
Michael Keaton.
Michael
also,
Keaton's quit comedy. Yeah.
Anyone you know?
Eric Bana.
Oh wow, yeah.
Really?
Eric Bana quit stand up. Yeah. He became,
Oh no! Here's the thing that used to drive me crazy. You know, when I was like 7-8 years in, I think you were around, but like every now and then.
I started in 2000, so
whatever. Let's just say it's 2000. when Laugh Lines is still going, once a year they'd have the showcases for Comedy Now, which is like really the only game in town for young comedians
To get on television.
Yeah, and it was a big deal, and it took me 7 fucking tries to get on Comedy Now. And anyway, so I would work all year for that 10-minute spot, and I wanted to show the producers that every year I had a solid 10 minutes, because I knew it would take like more than 3 or 4.
They wanted to see you do 7 10-minute sets, so they knew you had an hour. they were like, oh, we finally got the material together.
Yeah, and then they cut my special down
and
to
they
fucking
just put it all together.
no, and then they cut it in 20 minutes. Anyway, but there would always be like actors. Local Vancouver improv actors who've I would never see them at any open mic or in any comedy
just show
club.
up at the.
They're improv. Fair enough. You're doing Vancouver Theatre Sports League. That's fine. But
Give me a location. Your own fucking club.
I used to be offended when they would do the identical 10-minute spot.
Which is weird for improv people.
Yeah, it is, right?
It's weird that we get the same suggestions every time. Dentist again? Well, luckily.
It always pissed me off. I'm just like, well, no, like, clearly they're not stand-up comics. Why the fuck are they auditioning for this show?
I think about 80% of the people who do stand-up are not stand-up comics.
Oh, please. They're barely human.
Yeah, they're not. But I mean, they're not stand-up comics. Like 80% of the people who do stand-up comedy, they're not comics.
No.
They're people who do comedy.
Yeah.
There's a big fucking difference.
No, this is why this has been my policy always. When I meet a new comic or new wannabe comic or somebody who's just there.
Yeah. Somebody in your art who hoves into the orbit.
3 months minimum. I always tell them the same thing. Yeah. Do as much comedy as you can for 3 months, then stop for a couple of weeks, and think about whether this is the life for you. But when I say do comedy as much as you can for 3 months, I mean like I want to see you at every single fucking gig.
Yeah.
Then give yourself a bit of a breather, and if you decide this isn't for me, then at least you actually gave it the old college try.
Yeah.
And if you say it is for me, then lean into it and suffer all of the indignities of being a professional comedian in Canada. But don't do this like every 4 months. No. You show up and do 5 minutes of fucking of jokes you downloaded off the internet, and then so you can brag to your friends at the fucking water cooler.
I was doing a gig once. It was like a late night open mic, and it was like I don't know what it was like. 11 o'clock at night, and it was like a bunch of just amateur and new comics there, and this is a couple years ago. Maybe 3 years ago now or so, because it was maybe a little more. But anyway, it doesn't matter. And it was like one of these things at night, and I'm trying to. No, this is yours. There you go.
You opened my beer.
I drank. No, there's many. There was 2.
Okay.
Anyway. So anyway, it was like one of those ones where it's like late at night, and I hear this guy's just bitching because he didn't get some showcase or something.
Right.
And it's something I didn't get at that time. For whatever reason. Mine might have been pre-existing relationships. It doesn't matter. The point is, this guy's just fucking beaking off and off about this, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I turned around and I go, "Hey man," I go, "I'm 8,000 plus shows in, and I'm out every night, and I see you once a month. Who the fuck do you think you are think? Because the thing is you can swan around and be that guy." But I'm still hungry. Right, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sitting, and there's tons of people like me who are still hungry. So how dare you? And the sad thing is sometimes that's rewarded. Sometimes it is rewarded. And you see those people that do get success out of that.
Oh, so there are some
It's frustrating. Like, I don't try to begrudge comedians what they get, but I do get frustrated that the industry can't see. Of course, they can't know. They can't see that the industry is very narrow-minded. Although we did get that Grammy for this, which was nice.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
They're gonna mail it to me.
But
from Nigeria.
Weirdly
enough.
But
I just paid for it.
Grammy spelled IE, isn't it? Like
Grammy. It's got an accent aigu.
It's like
Grammy. It's just like an old lady who comes over and tells you you're doing great.
It's like the fact that I am technically Reverend Dylan Reimer.
What?
So that's your Grammy, right?
Yeah. He's Reverend.
Well, I got ordained online when I was bored at work.
Yeah.
Actually,
there's your religion for you. It's okay. You can go on, click a couple of buttons, and all of a sudden you can cut a baby's dick off, or whatever the fuck people do.
My good
circumcisions.
My good friend was getting
just a moil.
My good friend was getting married, and he was like, "I want you to do the blah blah blah."
He was cheap. He's like, I can't afford a real man of God.
Yeah. So technically, I'm Reverend Dylan Reimer.
Are you a man of God, or you're just a reverend?
Well, I'm.
Did you have to pick a god? How does that work?
I went eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Well, it was like a game show.
It was like she just spin the big wheel of
Yeah.
gods. Who's it gonna be?
I was like, well, which one benefits me the most?
Come on, Vishnu. Like, yeah, which god benefits you the most? As a white guy, Jesus probably, right? God. It's a white man.
He's so awfully judgy. Actually,
kind
he
of
isn't
thing.
judgy enough. Wait, is he? No, wait, hold on.
He's not. His dad's holier than thou. Because he's God. Let's do our random.
I'm holding out.
Let's do a random.
Sorry, yeah, you've totally.
We did the random thing, and now we're
Random.
gonna do.
Why do you think sports are common across almost all cultures, present and past?
Oh God.
Sports are common across all cultures, present and past.
Why?
Boy, did you ask the right guys.
I know, right?
But why do you think it's so popular?
I think it's for many reasons. One of the reasons is one, it speaks to tribal and connected behaviors for hunting rituals and stuff that we used to do. It helps train our young people to do things. So it helps. It kicks into that old monkey instinct of like how to test yourself, and it's an instant dopamine reward when you. And it's also when you succeed. And it appeals to the herd and pack mentality of being not just playing the sport, but being connected to the sport. Because then we're wearing the same jersey, we're on the same team. I'm part of a group. I feel like belonging. It's really not that hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Also,
balls are cool, right?
The love of giant hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
Yeah, hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs,
Hot
beer.
dogs.
I mean, I am the wrong person to ask. I've always viewed.
What was a big sport like across all cultures for like? What was the first sport? Rock.
Rape.
I'll Google it.
Jesus Christ!
Sorry.
Good Lord!
Well, come on, it's caveman shit, isn't
Jesus
it?
fucking Christ!
Sorry, that was a bit of. Well, okay, so
I may never have edited anything before. I might have to. Put a big black block over his face.
I'm just thinking.
Then do like the voice.
All right, so you'll get demonetized for the money you don't have on this one.
We're not going to get demonetized. I've been trying to promote this thing, and they keep calling it shocking
Well,
content.
no,
I'm not kidding. They won't let me advertise it.
And also,
so that's why it's not. Email Google and tell them why the fuck.
Right now in Canada, minor league hockey is rife with like legit rape scandals, where the money that people thought they were.
Well, I don't know.
But the Canadian taxpayers actually were funding to. It's almost as bad as Hollywood.
Humans are disgusting and terrible. And so it doesn't matter what organization you put them in.
Where do you get these questions
Humans
from?
are disgusting. That one's from Catholic Weekly.
That's a random topic generator.
That's the random topic
So the
generator.
question is why do?
Did we not do random with you the first episode? Have you never done a random before?
I've never done a random.
He's like the pilot episode.
No, but I've heard you do random.
Yeah.
Because I actually listen to this podcast.
Yes, well, like I
that's
said,
largely why I'm on it.
One at a time.
Sports, it's because the physical is very appealing. I mean, honestly, you don't have to think that much.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a very negative view of sports because the jocks used to beat me up in the high school and all of that stuff. I'm sure there's a myriad of reasons. I honestly couldn't tell you.
I think it's a belonging thing too. It's a testing your mettle. It's a feeling of accomplishment. It's, as you said, there's a certain level of you can find reward in that. Same with working out. Same with everything. You can find a reward and see progress in something that can be done almost like at a very base level. So it appeals to a very base, not being negative about it, but it appeals to a very base function of human, and which is our physicality, because we're so tied to our physicality. If you ask a human to exist without physicality, it terrifies them. Look at someone like Stephen Hawking. His physicality was removed from him, and yet that did not affect who he was.
But you can still put him in a luge.
You can still put him in a luge. Set him on down. Oh my God!
I am getting close to the speed of light. Now they did not. As far as, if I'm not mistaken, that question has nothing to do with the actual activity of engaging in sports, but rather they're watching the sports,
popular.
right?
Yes,
so that's why it's tribal. It's a herd.
Did I ever tell you about when I pretended to be a hockey fan?
I would love this.
I used to work at Science World, and my boss was like super into hockey and stuff. And they always had this what is it, a hockey pool? I know.
No, they play on a rink, don't they?
Well,
Jesus
no,
Christ.
but I don't know how it works.
Doesn't know how it works.
But you like a frozen pool.
It's confusing it with water polo.
It's like, what they do with the pads with
Here's the thing with me and Simon too. I get his jokes 3 seconds after he tells them.
So do I. The mouth is faster than the brain.
But anyway, so it's like he's like, I just wanted to surprise my boss, so I lived with this hockey fan, named Max Mitchell, very funny comedian who now works for the government. Anyway,
There's
and
another
I
guy
asked
doing
him,
better.
I said, Max, of all the teams that are likely to make the playoffs, which team is least likely to win? And he goes, oh, it's the Nashville Predators. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I literally spent like 5 hours online researching the Predators, memorizing the names of all the players and the coach and all that shit, right?
Wow.
And turns out the Predators are pretty solid because back then they had the first Native American player. And yeah, what's that?
Jordan Tutu.
Yeah, and they call him the Tutu train.
Tutu train.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
goalie. He was fucking solid. Anyway, yeah, see how easy it is? I just like regurgitated facts. So I
Yeah.
go in next day. I'm like, hey boss, you know what? I want to be in that hockey pool. It's like, you, Dylan? I'm like, yeah, man. Fucking, I love hockey. I'm all about the hockey. He goes, really? He goes, who do you want to put your money down for? I'm like, oh, the Nashville Predators, obviously. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, dude, like,
Yeah.
they're my boys. The fucking Tutu train. He's the shit. And I just started regurgitating.
Yeah.
And I had him going for about 4 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Where I was. And when I lost him was when I said, well, I grew up in Nashville. And he's like, really? I'm like, and my fondest memories as a child were was my father taking me to see the Nashville Predators. And he's like, the team only formed like 5 years ago.
You know, here's a weird thing.
No, but as a result, sometimes I'll be in a bar
yeah.
and the hockey's on and it's the Predators. And I kind of think, oh, how my Preds doing? Like I tricked myself into becoming a Nashville
Believe the
Predators
lie.
fan, which my girlfriend doesn't like because she's from Winnipeg and she's all about the Jets.
Here's
but,
the funny thing that I realized too: the Nashville Predators were actually executed in Kentucky with Kentucky Fried. That's what happened to the Nashville Predators because they're predators.
Yes,
There you go.
the sexual.
The sexual predators, the
Nashville-
Nashville sexual predators. They dropped the
It's
sexual part.
Harvey
It
Weinstein
really helped
and
attendance.
it'd be great.
Because
It'd be
initially
great. It was
bad.
like notorious sexual predators
Yeah,
on
'cause
ice.
they were like, they make it sexy, right? The sexual predators.
It's like
No, no,
James
no.
Franco and
James
Danny
Masterson.
She's like just learning to skate.
Just like floating around. Like, what's going on? It's the National Sexual Predators.
And we have the sirens in the background to illustrate the point.
They're here to bust us for not knowing more about hockey.
Well, that's one question.
That's an hour.
That's an hour.
That was an hour.
I like how the sirens are.
That's drowning sound.
The studio's less quiet than it was, and weirdly enough, we were in a worse part of town last time. Like, this is a nice part of town, and yet, I guess a rich person might
I
have
don't think we
stubbed
had the
their
windows
toe.
open last time.
No, a rich person might have stubbed their toe.
I live 4
like,
blocks
oh, white
from-
person's in here.
I live 4 blocks from a chicken slaughterhouse.
No, yeah, all right.
And
What are you trying to pick me up? Jesus Christ! The way you did it, it's like I live in a 4 blocks from a chicken slaughterhouse. Ooh, great! When do they put the dumpsters out?
Thanks, Robert Picton, trying to pick us
Jesus
up.
Christ!
the funny thing is, oh, never mind. So that's the end of the
But
podcast.
you can edit
Well,
on
here's
a
what we're
funny
gonna do.
thing.
Here's what we're gonna do. Hold on a second. Here's what we're gonna do. If you are listening to this and watching this, thank you very much for listening to this and watching this. We are going to continue with Dylan Reimer. We're going to do more, but that's going to be a week. And so for now, thank you very much, Dylan Reimer.
Well,
Thank you very much, Mikey
thank
Greenwood.
you, Simon King. Thank you, Mikey
And
Greenwood.
we are very glad to have done Dylan Reimer Part 1, Part 2, because Part 1 was when you were on before. So this
Do
is
I
Part
get a
2.
Part 2?
So you're going to get a Part 3.
Am I like the Avengers?
You are like the Avengers.
Am I like the Godfather?
MCU later. Oh, that's so stupid. That's what's wrong this week.